HarperCollins presents The Lost Girls of Johnson's Bayou by Jana DeLeon, read by Blythe Renay.
Chapter 1. Ginny Bergeron stood in front of the cafe's plate glass window and stared into the swamp. The setting sun cast an orange glow on the cobblestone street in front of the cafe and the thick range of cypress trees that littered the swamp beyond the edge of the small town. It was the same view she'd had every day for 16 years. Yet today, it felt different, as if something wasn't right. "You gonna finish cleaning that coffee pot or just stare out the window all day?" The booming voice of the heavy-set woman behind her made Ginny jump, and she spun around to face Madeline, the woman who was, for all practical purposes, her mother. "Sorry," Ginny said. "I guess I wandered there for a minute." Madeline gave her an understanding smile and glanced out the window. "It's a beautiful sunset. I finished up in the back, so as soon as those coffee pots are washed, we can leave." She grabbed one of the pots off the warmer behind the counter. "Since you're up here lollygagging, I'll help." Ginny smiled at Madeline's teasing, more because she knew her mother expected it than because she felt like smiling. The beautiful sunset wasn't what had caught Jenny's attention. In fact, Ginny couldn't put her finger on exactly why she'd been staring out the window, or what she expected to see. But she could feel it. Something out there didn't belong. Ginny grabbed the half-empty coffee pot off the table where she'd placed it a couple of minutes earlier and headed behind the counter. Madeline already had hot water running in the huge stainless steel sink, so Ginny poured out the old coffee and stuck the pot under the stream of water. Some of the steamy water splashed onto her bare hands, and she flinched. Her mother glanced over at her bare hands and shook her head, her expression one of long-standing exasperation worn by parents who'd told a child something over and over again in vain. "I have a pot roast in my crock pot," Madeline said. "Why don't you come over for dinner and a movie?" Great minds think alike. "I put a roast in my crock pot this morning." Madeline wiped the coffee pot with a clean rag and set it on the counter. "Well, if you're sure." "I'm sure," Ginny said, and placed her clean coffee pot on the counter next to her mother's. "I guess we'll both be eating pot roasts for a week, then." Madeline stared at her for a moment, the uncertainty clear on her face, but finally, being a parent, won out. "I worry about you spending so much time alone. You sure you're all right? You've seemed on edge lately." "I'm fine, and I'm perfectly happy alone. I have a good library of books," she smiled. "You ought to know since you gave me most of them." Madeline didn't look convinced. "A book isn't the same as having someone else around. Like a man? Then maybe I wouldn't worry as much." "Really? I haven't noticed that being a problem for you. In fact, in my years with you, I've never known you to even date." Madeline waved a hand in dismissal. "That's not the point. I made my choices long ago, and I'm happy with them. I had my run at that hill in my earlier years, enough to know it wasn't for me. But you haven't so much as taken a step toward it." Ginny shook her head. "You know good and well that the only single men in Johnson's Bayou are under 10 or over 60. Which would you prefer I take up with? Ain't no one saying you got to remain here the rest of your life. That university in New Orleans wanted to give you a scholarship before. I bet you could get one again." "And do what?" "Leave. Leave all this behind and start a new life. A good life." Ginny placed a hand on Madeline's arm. "I have a good life. Maybe someday I'll want something different. Something else. But for now, this is what's right for me." Madeline sighed and kissed Ginny's forehead. "All right, then. I'll see you tomorrow morning. Ought to be a busy one with everyone in town preparing for the fall festival." Ginny nodded, then followed Madeline to the front door of the cafe and locked it behind her. Ginny gave the cafe a final glance to make sure everything was in order, then hurried up the staircase at the back of the cafe kitchen to her apartment. The apartment consisted of a small living area, an even smaller bedroom, and a tiny kitchenette and bathroom. Madeline had provided her with a worn couch that Ginny had recovered in coarse fabric with light blue and white stripes. An old 19-inch television sat across from the couch on a stand with peeling paint that Ginny had
Sample complete. Ready to continue?